Labor spokesperson for women, Jan Tetti, is criticising what she calls misogynistic comments made by senior male members of the coalition, including a statement by Police Minister Mark Mitchell, who said he didn't know if a gang member wants to deal with a perimenopausal woman. During question time, Tetti asked the Minister for Women whether she had confidence the government was advocating on behalf of and prioritising issues pertaining to women. Minister Judith Collins, answering on behalf of Minister for Women Nicola Gregg, said yes. Tetti followed up by saying, well, how can she be confident that the government is prioritising issues pertaining to women when the Minister of Police, Mark Mitchell, joked in an interview, I don't know if a gang member wants to deal with a perimenopausal woman. Collins replied, let me just say this. We women have a lot to put up with, and I know this. Minister Mitchell is the strongest advocate against the violence that gangs mete out to women that I have seen. I fully support him for standing up against the gangs. As for that little statement, I'll deal with that later. Well, let's deal with that now. Firstly, that was said on my show, and it was me that prompted it. It was my show, the first show back of the year, that I spoke to the police minister, and here's a little bit of it. So I've missed my calling, I think, actually.
Well, Leah, you know we are recruiting. Leah, so do you want me to put some...
you
check your mailbox for recruiting papers.
You do not need this moody, middle-aged, perimenopausal woman running right. Actually, you might need me, Mark. It would be amazing.
Well, I don't know if a gang member wants to deal with a premenopausal woman.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Bring them on.
So you choose what you want to do, get the papers signed, and come back and see me.
Okay. Secondly, Tenetti's comment that women are being put on the back burner by this government is rich coming from her. She was heavily instrumental in imposing rules onto women and girls which tell us we must instantly forget about a man's character and biology as soon as he says he is a woman. I'll remind you that Tetti played a key role in advancing self-identification policies in New Zealand, particularly in relation to birth certificates. As the Minister then of Internal Affairs, she was instrumental in passing the Births, Deaths, Marriages and Relationship Registration Act amendments in 2021, which introduced a self-identification process for changing the sex marker on birth certificates. This law removed the requirement, I'm reminding you, for applicants to go through the family court or provide medical evidence, making it easier for transgender and non-binary individuals to update their birth certificates to reflect their gender identity. Now, I bring that up because she has an audacity to say the government does not support women when she ignores real women. And by the way, welcome back, Police Minister Mark Mitchell. Mark, good afternoon.
Hi, Leah. How are you today?
Well, were you surprised to hear in the House
I was.
To be confronted as a misogynist over comments that I initiated?
At first I thought, what is she talking about? And then when I left the house, I sort of thought about it, and I remember that conversation we'd had where I was trying to recruit you for the police. By the way, I'm still trying to recruit you for the police as well. We need the numbers. And it was banter. It was you and I having a bit of banter together. So anyway,
which I also initiated, Mark. When I was as I played that little bit of the original audio, yes. It was me that referred to myself as a middle-aged perimenopausal grumpy woman. Judith Collins, as per, handled it very well. Tenetti's baseless questions admirably. It was reported that she would deal with it later, but said that she was not your mother, which is good to put that on record. Has Judith spoken to you, Mark? Have you been growled by Miss Judith Collins?
Well, we were sitting in the house together, and so you hear what she said, and I said, she's taken something completely out of context, and Judith said, yeah, no, I thought that'd be the case, and that was the end of it. Yeah. So, I just think that, they play the man, not the ball. And, and they try to do these character assassinations. They're far too quick to try and put labels on people, whether it be misogynist or racist or whatever it might be. And I think the general public just sees straight through it.
And I think, Mark, too, and Judith, again, well done to her. She went on to say, there are more important things that women face every day, domestic violence, workplace equality, the list goes on, and picking up on, a bit of banter at the end of an interview, like you said, is playing the ball and, is playing the man, not the game. And we've got bigger problems, and it's
We have.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say to wrap that up, Mark, about this little bit is that it must have hurt the likes of Radio New Zealand and the Herald to actually print my name and the platforms in there. So that was a bonus for me.
That is
Now,
true.
it
That
was
is
good.
true.
I was happy to read that.
Bit of free
So,
advertising there.
when they typed that up, it must have hurt to go to print. Mark, look, I do want to move on and just ask you quickly, and on a more serious note too, that the Independent Police Conduct Authority report came out and said that police failed to protect people from protesters at the rally of Posey Parker in March 2023. Now, I spoke with Jill Ovens yesterday from the Women's Rights Party. She would like an apology from police and an assurance that in the future authorities uphold their duty to protect all. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I mean, that's something that can be addressed by police. They can have a look at that. I think that the issues that have been raised, the recommendations that have come forward out of the IPCA report are all good ones, and I think that our police have been put in a very difficult situation dealing with these protests. I mean, the most recent one is the one that you saw with Brian Tupaki's Destiny Church. When they disrupted the gay pride parade, and I thought the police were outstanding in the way they dealt with that. They immediately put a skirmish line in place to be able to protect the people that were on the gay pride the parade. But it's highlighted that that unfortunately, not just in New Zealand but around the world, people have shifted their boundaries. They don't want to comply with the law. They're pushing the boundaries all the time, and so we're going to look at it. Myself, Paul Goldsmith and Simon Watts will look at what we can do around legislation to make it much clearer and give the police powers and guidelines to be able to deal with that. Because at the end of the day, in our country, we want to protect freedom of speech. We want to protect the right to peaceful protest, but that doesn't mean trampling over the rights of others.
And look, Mark, I'm glad you brought that up because I agree with you. But the perception is when you look, and I'm glad you brought up Destiny's Church because if we look at how that crowd was controlled, again, and I go back to Posey Parker, the perception is police will protect in certain circumstances and control crowds more willingly. Again, I bring up pride parades, the like of Māori Hikois, but not so fast to help those in what we saw at Posey Parker. And that, Mark, really is a reality that perception that people are telling me and they feel. They were completely dealt with differently by the police, those two rallies.
So I think that our police should always be seen to be serving without fear or favour. And
Yes.
and I think that that's in a big and that's why these recommendations are good, because I think it's highlighted the fact that we can give them much clearer powers and guidelines around how to deal with these protests.